What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again, once more, as usual. Right? I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you in this fine day that we're having here, of course. Right? I want to issue a disclaimer, a copyright disclaimer, right, for all the copywritten material that's going to be shared here in this here video. Right? So, yeah, without further ado, let's get to them slides, right? So, circling back to this topic here that we left off the other time. Well, of course, you have to excuse the construction going on behind me. So, this is just a portion of that continuity, so to speak, right? So, yeah, let's shift up a little bit. So, here it is, I think, better to think of it like this. Money, right? Money. That's where we left off, right? Money. So, everybody assumes that a person with money or wealth is, of course, knowledgeable, right? And of course, we assume they are without fear, right? And they have this freedom to express their passion, good or bad, right? Some buy islands to touch children, right? And of course, people flock to them. So at least at this point, they have lost and gained a sense of community at the same time, right? And of course, movement, right? Where do I begin? Shame, of course, they don't need to feel shame. If you are wealthy, if you have money, people tend to look away. Okay? People tend to look away, and you can get away with anything. So it seems. Right? Of course, there are levels, right? Like they say, the rich say health is wealth, right? And the poor say wealth is health, right? Funny how that goes, right? So let's go to the other side, right? We have just dismantled the whole survival situation, right? Now let's move on to the other side, which is foolishness. It's the same thing, right? So it is like a glitch, right? People that have figured out that, you know what, I don't need anything else than money. All I need to have is money. They don't need an education. They don't need to live in fear anymore. They don't need to feel ashamed. They don't need to be restricted when it comes to movement. You can't call them a fool anymore. And of course, you can say they are not God-fearing people, right? God blessed them with this wealth. So, what does that do, right? What does that do, right? This capitalism system here, it breaks. That's what it does. That's what money does. It breaks. It does not put together. It breaks, right? Some call it the wealth gap. Some call it the caste system. many various words people use to express the same concept, but at the root of that, for a long time, right, it has been money, right? Money. So where does that leave us then? Because we know for a fact the system will definitely break down if we all have money. Well, because money, again, it's all what it can do for you, right? You can't have a functional economy, right? A functional economy without classes, right? You cannot. That's just the blunt truth, or rather, I don't know, sharp. So we might differ in everything, but we all share this love for money, and that's what's bringing us trouble. It makes it impossible for the world to change. Why? Because the wealthy just pay out the poor to be on their side. In most countries, it has made politics to become a joke. It has shattered the health industry as money. It's a big problem. It's like it deserves its own video. Right? So, yeah, just a little thing that you can sit on, right, as I just transmitted to you what I think about it, right?
Hey brothers, Jimela. My name is Timo Mulawane. I'm the Northwest Province Small Business Development Council chairperson. Brother, we cannot allow this. We cannot allow artisans and laborers coming from other provinces to come and work in our land, in our vicinity, in our town, whereas our people are the consumers here. No, I cannot speak to this one. This lady doesn't own Chicken Licky. She's...
So, this machine here, well, like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. And this either is not new, right? Again, playing with vortices. Well, what people don't see, or rather not see, is how this can be weaponized, right? And I've shown it in movies, right? Plasma guns, those are guns of the future, right? Rail guns and plasma guns. I remember one movie by Zack Snyder, futuristic space movie, came out a couple years back. I don't remember the name. Had a lot of slow motion. And we are using plasma guns, right? And all of these countries are, I don't know, unwilling to see. Sure, it's gonna revolutionize a lot of things, right? Medicine, energy, but again, the potential. Even medicine, right? If I've not mentioned that. Even construction. But hey, right? People gotta do what they gotta do, right? Well, this emerging two-tier public school system quite interesting, and it's driven by a lot of things, including teachers who refuse to go work in the villages. So the quality of education plummets. And of course, we cannot forget about the very existence of private schools. These things that we thought were liberating at one point. A form of capitalism of some kind. If we all build all schools, there won't be no tier system. There'll be other forms of corruption, of course, but the quality of education will be the same. But now it's more like, what can you afford? That's the question. You know.
The lawsuit with Bill Gates is getting even crazier. According to reports, what actually went down in the courtroom is wild. So it first began with so many people showing up, plaintiffs showing up, that they had to open up another room because they couldn't fit them all in the courtroom. And the defendant, Bill Gates' team, started their whole speech with saying that vaccines are safe and effective, and the entire courtroom bursted out laughing. It gets even crazier. So obviously, as they're presenting all this evidence of different deaths, of people being barren.
I mean, look at the statistics, right? 279% spike in miscarriages, 487 spikes in breast cancer, 1,048 spike in nervous system, issues, 155% spike in birth defects, 350% spike in male infertility, 369% spike in testicular cancer, 2,181 spike in hypertension, 664 malignant neoplasms, right? 501 false, just incredible numbers, brothers and sisters, right? 471 female infertility, ovarian dysfunction, mitochondrial infarction, pulmonary embolism. Wow. Yeah. Impressive. The Sun, right? They had some words, some journalistic words there to say, this is how they feel, Well, here's the thing, right? They came in and told your women that they want to liberate you. They want you to be free. They didn't say it directly, but they said indirectly from the so-called patriarchy. What they mean to say is the powerful and the wealthy, but hey, the patriarchy. And I don't think they went into the fine print to really look, right? To really look who are they fighting and why and how. They just went along with the campaign. Like again, it felt liberating. Emphasis on the felt. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. So all I want to figure out is, are women's gonna have genuine conversations now about what really transpired in this movement of feminism, right? Because it was a big trend back then, right? First it was kill all men, right? Then it was a man and a bear. All of these in the backdrop of feminism, right? Women feeling stuck because of men. And the men feel stuck because of, you know what, I don't want to get into that whole situation, but I do believe that at one point, tough conversations are going to be had. Because some people have been had, if you catch my drift. English. Oh man, this is what they are talking about now. Well, you need to go talk to the Iranians. You need to go talk to the Iranians, oh man, and create a security situation, right? Because they do want control of those straits, all of them, even the one over there in Egypt, right? I told this to somebody and they didn't believe me, right? But they do want control over all straits. In that region. Why? It's power, right? One of the reasons we are going to see. Rubio is a very dangerous man. Whatever state fails, it's none of your business. But again, they can say, we have an increase in Cuban migrants, so it is in our national security. Right? The reasons just write themselves at this point, right? So after the blockade, what now? This is what they're talking about, right? They're just moving on into a new era of warfare, right? Not putting an end to warfare, no, but rather adapting to new realities. Cannot make this up, right? This is what is out there, right? They just built a who is doing this? Well, again, it's the same thing. They say you're taking your jobs, you're invading our culture, but no. Just like the South Africans say, these Africans are coming here illegally and they're taking our women's. Now that's a motivator right there. That's the motivation. Right? And of course, Netanyahu, we all know what he's up to. And death and carnage. Okay. Nudging. They call it nudging. Right? Not Twitter posts with a jet carrying a bomb written on it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's not that. Maybe that's the nudging he's talking about. Right? Again, the hypocrisy of this whole organization is bewildering to me, right? And again, I think I made this point a long time ago, right, about sovereignty, right? For instance, if you take a nation in Africa, right, just in Africa, right, countries have given up parts of their sovereignty to regional bodies, right, like ECOWAS, like the East African Community, right, in long form. The AU, UN, and its bodies, like the WHO, the one dealing with food. All I'm saying is we need to be exact, right? Because denial of that our sovereignty was not signed off at one point in time, I think that's a little bit delusional, if you ask me. Right? It goes the same thing to the countries over there in Europe, in South America. This is how these people get their agendas rolling. Right? Because then it's like a bypass. It's like a constitutional bypass. In order to sign it off, it only needs 2 or 3 people. And the only way that can be undone is if we review and demand correction to some former agreements that we entered. If we sense any form of sovereignty and violation of said sovereignty, that's what we need, right? That's all we need. Because this is becoming more and more ridiculous, right? But hey, now the Russians understand exactly how the Palestinians feel, how the Iranians feel, how the world feels. It's gonna bring people closer. It's unfortunate that it has to be like this, but yeah, we have had our hands off the wheel for a long time, so to speak. And we are seeing the consequences. We are reaping the consequences.
We achieve our goals, then I have argued, I think, and Americans understand this very well because we're real partners.
Real partners.
I think that what has to be done is to have alternative routes instead of going through the choke points of the Hormuz Straits and the Bab el-Mandeb Straits in order to have the flow of oil.
Wait for it.
Just have oil pipelines going west through the Arabian Peninsula, right up to Israel, right up to our Mediterranean.
Boom. There you have it. The real objective of all of this was to intentionally, they knew that starting a war with Iran would cause a shutdown.
Slow your brakes, first and foremost. That is just one thing that goes through those straits. Okay? And of course, like he said, 40% of the oil will be under their control of the world supply, right? But again, it's not the only thing moving. You cannot move, for instance, cars through pipelines. You can move grain through pipelines, at least now. So this is just a power move, right? But again, the Arabs need to focus on the Abraham Accords right now, right? The nudging and stuff.
Of both the Bab el-Mandeb Straits, which is what the Houthis can affect in the Red Sea, and then the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has effectively shut down. They knew that was going to happen because their long-term goal has always been to make the Muslim countries in the Arab states, the Gulf Arab states, force them to have to route all of their oil exports through Israel. Therefore, Israel can now control up to 40% of the world's petroleum. And that amount of control would absolutely make them a superpower, and that's exactly what they want. And this is why I say, if Iran falls, it's not going to be Turkey next. It's going to be Egypt, because they have to take back the Suez Canal. They have to. They had it during the Arab-Israeli War for a brief time. The UN forced them to give it back to Egypt. They've always wanted that back.
The UN forced them. You know what? That's enough. Well, those are some brief updates that I had for you. But again, I think the problem is that most people underestimate how far-reaching the problem goes, and of course overestimate the enemy. The truth is, people have become, in one way or the other, right, knowingly or unknowingly, have become part of the problem. Right? So getting rid of the elites will not solve the problems, because there will always be a rat from down the pyramid ready to do anything to get up this pyramid. And I mean anything. So then, what is the solution? I'm gonna let you digest that for now. So anyway, I'm gonna put a pin on it right there, and of course we're gonna see each other, or rather hear from each other when we hear from each other. Prince Easy signing out. Love you. Bye.